No one loves trying to optimize themselves and get that focus in more than an ADHD-er. So I thought, let's go to the king of focus and productivity, Ali Abdaal, and see if I follow his focus advice as an ADHD-er, what does it do for me? Is this going to work for us, or is this just a neurotypical thing that doesn't work for us? I had my suspicions going in, and actually I came across some surprising revelations in there, so stick around, I'm going to get into that right now. As we know, the problem for us isn't that we don't have focus and we don't have attention, despite what the A and D stand for in ADHD. We have this unbridled, uncontrolled beam of focus that just goes everywhere. I always think of it like Cyclops without his glasses from X-Men. So the problem for us isn't that we just need to focus, because our brains are actually functionally different and that we can't filter out the unimportant. That's why kind of going out or eating in a restaurant can just feel like total overwhelm and a nightmare, whilst maybe your neurotypical friends around you don't seem to be having the same hellish experience that you are. And then for a lot of us, we add this extra pressure of just trying to be neurotypical or expecting ourselves to be neurotypical in some way, which makes this whole thing way worse. So as I was getting into Ali Abdaal's focus advice, the first thing that struck me was, hey, actually, a lot of this I recommend to my ADHD coaching clients or just ADHD therapy clients. He was really tapping into these ways that we can constructively and helpfully trick our brains. So Ali said, just do 5 minutes. Tell yourself you're just going to do 5 minutes. And to be honest, I've really lowered that for myself and for ADHD clients down to like a minute. Try and just do a minute, or even just tell yourself you're going to do 10 seconds, because oftentimes it is that barrier, the first barrier, just getting into it, and that is way, way, way harder than the rest of it. And a lot of times we can do it once we're into it. There's just this demand avoidance thing. So I actually found that tip really, really good. As I say, I'd alter it a little bit for the ADHD audience, but actually just starting off small and saying, I'm just going to do 5 minutes, or even, hey, if I've just done a minute of this thing, at least I've done a minute, I've not lost anything, but the chances are I'm going to get into it. Ali then went on to talk about changing your environment to renew your ability. Now, this is something I've heard Rox from ADHD Love talk about as well, that she feels, and I totally get this, maybe you guys do too, that a room or a space has a certain amount of like work energy, and then when it's gone, nothing's happening anymore, and then you've got to change location to renew that energy. 100% like hard relate on this one. And I actually tell my ADHD coaching clients, like, forget about what feels normal. Go sit in the bathtub, take your laptop out to your car. Like, it doesn't matter if you need to get something done, go sit in the bathtub without water if you're working with your laptop. It doesn't matter if there's like this weird novelty, like our brains are going to love that. So, oh, I'm sat in the bathtub doing my work. How novel, my brain loves this. So, and again, another pretty good one from Ali Abdaal saying change your location. Again, slight alterations for ADHD audience, but yeah, very good advice. There were some, and Ali was not making this content for ADHDers, so it's just to be expected that some of these are going to clash, and some of them did totally clash with the ADHD brain. Like, he was talking about training yourself on long form content to effectively build that muscle, which in principle is good, but if you're an ADHDer, this may affect you more or less than other ADHDers, but I certainly know a great deal of ADHD people who, the idea for them of reading an entire book is it's just not gonna happen. So if we tell ourselves, well, just train with long-term, with long-form content, I feel like we might be setting ourselves up for a fall there. But again, it's a very well thought through and well-intentioned advice, but I think for the ADHDers amongst us, that's not quite gonna cut it. But by all means try, If that works for you, fantastic. I'm always one for not underselling yourself as an ADHD-er and trying to do what you want. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but you've tried. He also addressed a point that clients ask me about all the time, that when we're talking about focus, is it just these practical in-the-moment things, or are there long-term interventions that I can make, like sleep, nutrition, lifestyle? And Ali did talk about that in his top focus tips. Yes, again, there's absolutely things that you can do as an ADHD-er to help with your ADHD traits, if you will, like making sure you supplement with omega-3. I'm going to do a whole separate video about the nutrition of ADHD, so I'm not going to get into that too much here. But yes, however, bringing this back to the typical ADHD person, well, I was just trying to focus. Now you're telling me I've got to deal with my sleep, which is already a nightmare. I've got to work on my day schedule. I've got to get a nutrition plan. This is too much. I can't deal with that, let alone focus and write a whole flipping essay or read War and Peace. So this is really good advice, but if you're consuming this or trying to get a bit more focus as an ADHD-er, do not think that this is going to be an instant change. Do not think you're going to watch a bunch of Ali Abdaal focus videos over the weekend and by Monday you're going to be a different person. This is something that I've worked on for literally years, and I've gone to professionals to help me with the nutrition side particularly. So think of that as a long-term project. Take each piece of that one by one and embed a routine of exercise in. The sleep is always going to be an issue pretty much for us, but try it where you can. Take the small wins, I would say. Under no circumstances should you look at all of these things and try and figure them out all at once. None of this is that pressing that you need to get this figured out right now. You are going to be around for a long time. This is a lifetime's work. And with that, have any of you tried any of these so far? Is any of this making sense or just making you scream, no, no, no? Let me know in the comments. And this brings us on to why do typical solutions fail, and what Ali said about training yourself on long form content. That may well work for a neurotypical person, but we have a different brain. Like, our brains are fundamentally different. So we don't just need to run like a focus marathon to get ourselves in shape. We're not mentally out of shape in that sense. We just have a different brain that works differently. So this is where a lot of classic focus productivity advice really falls short for the ADHD audience, because we're just fundamentally different. Doesn't mean we can't do these things, but it just means we need different approaches. Now, Ali did have a really, really valuable bit of insight here, which hits on something we just said. A lot of this is going to be internal, not external. Just in our case, that thing that's internal for us is our brain. Whereas what Ali was saying is that 80% will be internal, and that 80% of internal stuff might just be sort of run-of-the-mill discomfort, but it could be a feeling of hopelessness, it could be anger, insecurity, whatever it is. That is the thing that's getting in the way of us focusing. Just something that, like, from our day, it's not that we can't focus. We just got something else going on. Whereas for us, we've got everything going on. We've got everything going on in our minds. So his advice in this case was to stop, name the emotion, name what's going on. If you can, alexithymia people among us, I know this is going to be a hard one, but name it, allow that to come in for a bit, and then see where you are afterwards. Can you still not focus even after you've put some time and attention into what you are actually feeling? Or does that change something? So I thought that was particularly good, especially for those of us who can get to kind of fear our ADHD as something that's always going to get in the way for us. As always with any of this productivity focus stuff, as I was going through Ali's recommendations here, I did feel coming up in me my ever constant bit of tension around, yeah, I don't want us to enter too much into this hustle culture and end up burnt out. So that is always something to keep in your mind and be aware of when you're dealing with this kind of content. We don't need to hold ourselves to the same standards of what we see on YouTube, because again, that's always going to be the idealized version, and people like Ali Abdaal or whoever it is are all going to have their own problems, and they're not smashing this out of the park every single day. So for me, generally, my impressions of his focus tips were pretty good. Like, there's a lot of overlap between what I would recommend to ADHD coaching clients, but again, there is always, as I say, that bit of tension around not wanting people to drink the Kool-Aid too much and start using this as a whip with which to beat themselves and holding themselves to standards which, one, might not be relevant to them, and two, maybe they can't reach realistically. And it is that from watching this video, it really underlines the mechanical, neurochemical differences that we ADHD people have from neurotypical people. And actually, watching this, I didn't see that as too much of a bad thing, to be honest, because I just started seeing it as a trade-off. Yes, I might struggle with focus sometimes, but for some reason it brought up all of the strengths that I have. Like, I might not be able to focus all the time, but if you want some ideas, come to me. Like, I've got a million flipping ideas for like business ideas or how to solve problems or whatever it is. I've got your ideas. That at least works for me. I find that really helpful, just to see this as a trade-off and not that I've just lost life's lottery. So overall, for Ali Abdaal's focus tips, I'm going to give this a strong 6 out of 10. It's not for us as a general community of ADHDers, but it's really not that bad, and there's a surprising amount of overlap between what he's suggesting here and what I would suggest to ADHD coaching clients. So good. Let me know what you think again down in the description. I'm going to put a link to his video as well, and I'll see you in the next video.